Not the smartest
guys in the room. Not the smartest guys in the room. Tom, how you been, man? We had a week off. We're going to talk about starting something new today. Jason, what's going on? Everybody on LinkedIn, everywhere, all the streaming places. We're going to talk about starting new things, whether that be business, whether it be like Tom, where you have a
have a
baby.
baby, his lovely family.
His wife had a baby, and now Tom is a new dad. So let's talk about babies starting something new. Why should you start something new in business? Every day people bring me ideas, and I say to myself, "That's a good idea, but I don't want to start a new business."
And then sometimes I do jump on those ideas. I'm like, this is a great idea. I'm in. Sometimes the next day somebody brings me an idea and I'm like, that's a great idea, but you should do it. I don't have time for that. So new ideas, new things, Tom, to new dad. So what do you got for us today, Tom?
It's been a busy week. Last Wednesday morning, just a week ago, she's a week old today. We welcomed our daughter Isla to the family. So she was born last Wednesday morning at 5:09 a.m. Needless to say, that's the reason why I wasn't here. Why we didn't have an episode of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room last week. I was a little bit busy, preoccupied. Just had gotten out of the delivery room with Isla shortly before it would have been time to go live. So she already has started throwing wrenches in the works. But yeah, no, she's happy, she's healthy. Mom's happy and healthy. We're just getting settled into some vague notion of a routine, but as you know, as a dad yourself, and anybody who's here who has kids, anybody who's listening who has kids, infants don't really care about routines, and they want to eat every 2 or 3 hours. So there's not a lot of opportunity for real regular routines with an infant, a newborn in the house. But we're just a week in, so far so good. Had our first pediatrician appointment yesterday. Everything is looking good. So nothing to be concerned about, thankfully. Very grateful that she is, she's happy and healthy. She's active and not crying a ton. So that's great. But yeah, she's basically being an infant, right? So she's essentially sleeping and eating, and that's about it.
Good luck with all of it, Tom. And I'm sure Jason, John, our fathers, it warms our soul to bring another dad into the club and hear that babies are crying, babies are pooping, that your free time, I'm sure you value all your free time over the years, but that free time has just dwindled a little bit. And although I love you, that makes me smile when somebody else has a little less free time. Not in a hateful way. I'm sorry, guys, but that's the fact. So,
no, and 100%. I mean, she has been, the absolute focus of every waking minute, for the last week, actually week plus, because we thought she was going to come last Monday. And then was delayed a little bit, so she didn't end up coming, into the world until Wednesday. But yeah, I mean, she's absolutely been the focus of the last week plus. There's no. I can see. I guess theoretically, I can kind of appreciate now how sometimes there's some resentment, and I think were I younger. And in a different place in my life, I could definitely see how there might be some resentment of like a loss of freedom. But the truth is, as an older first-time dad, I've had plenty of freedom, right? Like I've had a lot of adventures. I've had more adventures than any one person sort of deserves to have the opportunity to have. So yeah, no resentment here. Just having a lot of fun on this new adventure.
Love it, man. Okay, let's get into this. So we're talking about starting new things today, whether in Palm's case, fatherhood, but there's always these opportunities to start new businesses, to add new services, to branch out a little more. And then we pull back, or then we go for it, then we start them. And so I just wanted to get into this conversation of how do we know when it's time? How do we know what to start next? How do we know to pull back? So that's the conversation, Tom. You want to jump in on that, or should we go to John Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in real quick. I mean, I think, obviously, the most obvious new thing I have going on right now is fatherhood, and having a new baby daughter. But I think some of the same kind of thought processes and advice that a lot of people give to expecting parents or people who are thinking about having kids applies to businesses as well. And the answer is, to part of your question, there is no right time. There is no perfect time. There never will be. If you wait for the perfect time to start a new business, to add a new product or service, to begin a new adventure, whatever that is, whatever that looks like for you. If you try to wait for the perfect time, the answer is, or the end result will be that you'll never do it. Right. So I think, there is no perfect time. You have to jump when you feel like, and when you believe that the opportunity is positive, right? Like when there is a good opportunity, a solid opportunity for a positive outcome. And when you have the confidence and the faith in yourself and your ability and your skill set and those around you to be able to create a positive outcome, that's when you take the leap, right? So I think surround yourself with good people that you can rely on and lean on for support, and make sure you have the confidence in yourself to be able to take that leap, and generate that positive result. And that's when I think you go. But don't wait for the perfect time, because there never is a perfect time. There's never a perfect time to start a new business. There's never a perfect time to apply for a new job or change jobs. And there's definitely never a perfect time to have a kid, right? So like, there's no perfect time. There never will be a perfect time. At some point you have to take the leap. But I think do it from a educated, kind of well thought out perspective, where you believe that you've lined everything up to create the opportunity for success, not to guarantee it, but to create the opportunity for success. And that's when I think you should jump.
Good stuff. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Tara, Stephanie, Debbie, come on up if you want to talk. So we're talking about starting something new. When should you do it? When should you back down? What should you think about? Jason, starting something new. Welcome back, my friend. I saw some stuff the other day. Welcome back to social media. He took a little break. He's back. Jason, how do you know when it's time to start something new or not?
Well, if you're starting something new to avoid something difficult of old, then you should not be starting something new. Sometimes you just need to take a break, take a breather, right? And everything comes in cycles. There are difficulties, and then there's easy times. You got to appreciate it all. Whenever you're starting a new business, if you're not starting out with the very first question, what's the future state of what this business does? And what does success for this business look like? If you're not thinking about that, then maybe you might be having much more failure and lack than you ever realize. And that also can apply in our personal lives, in our friendships, and so on and so forth, because believe it or not, community and relationships and networks are a form of business. It's just, what are you willing to share and covet? So I would employ people, just because you're facing difficulties, be mindful that starting a brand new endeavor like a business, that you're not shooting into the dark and creating failure before you even start. So that's the part where I would tell you that if you want to start something, do a temperature check, not anxiety, not half-witted dreams, but actually think, you know what, I have a vision and I'm going to follow it up with a purpose, and it will take some commitment and consistency, and once I do that, then I'll worry about it then. But the last part of this is like a line from the Addams Family, and Gomez says to his lawyer, says, hey, you know what, Sully, I can't start new business until old business is completed, and that's next quarter. So realize what you got right now, and that's where I stand.
Thanks, Jason. Tell me about this, if you don't mind me doubling back here, shooting into the dark. So somebody's starting a new business. Hey, what's up, Marilyn? And all our friends on LinkedIn right now, ask a question if you'd like. But what does shooting into the dark mean, Jason? So somebody has an idea for a business, and are they jumping in too soon? What does that mean to you? I like the term.
Well, shooting into the dark means, like, let's imagine that you are a marksman, you're an archer, right? And you have a target that you want to meet, your mind, your goal, whatever it is. You don't want to work, let's say business, you don't want to work for somebody like in a company, but you have a target of life that you want, right? And if you're not writing that down, you're just launching an arrow, a bullet, or whatever your idea out there to hopefully land where, on what. So if you're not thinking about that, like, I see this, if I start a podcast, if I start some kind of business that doesn't have an objective, that actually serves people, then what are you doing? And there are a lot of people who start businesses who never get past the first couple steps because they didn't take time to think about how does it best serve people, not whether it's people going to buy into it, because making it people's awareness is one thing, but something I kind of learned, and even I'm glad John's even in here, it really made me think about, when we talk about social media and stuff, what you pitch to people and how you hook people, right? So instead of just like launching the arrow, the idea into outer space, and what is it going to land on? Think about, what do you see this doing and how it serves people, and you're going to launch it and you're going to retract it and you're going to use it and other people are going to use it, and you've got to have that in your mindset. If you don't, you're going to end up like a million other people who started a business in absolute despair, failure, and debt. So does that explain the answer?
Yeah, man, you're on fire today. So I'm enjoying it. I love clarity of message. You're killing it, man, and really helpful stuff. So we're talking, not the smartest guys in the room today. We're talking about Tom, his lovely wife, Becky, just had a baby. It's going on. I think he's about 7 days right now. So he's, if you look at the live stream, he's probably got bags under his eye. I think he looks tanner today, but there aren't any bags under his eyes.
Oh, can I say some encouragement to Tom?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, buddy.
Take the present for now. Never assume too far ahead. Take the moments of now when they're little, create the bond, and let it just, fulfill its time, because schedules can exist in our work. We as men, we have a different objective than the ladies, and the moms, but appreciate the now and create that bond. I'm happy for you. Welcome to fatherhood. It's a brand new rodeo to get a part of. So, there will be calm and there will be chaos, but remember, steadfast and appreciate the now. So congratulations, Tom.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's that's very consistent with a lot of the advice that I've gotten. Isla is very much very focused on mom right now, because mom is her meal ticket, and I'm pretty useless in that department. So she's pretty focused on mom, and I got some advice from some folks that said, look, you just have to accept that, especially initially as an infant, she's going to be way more focused on mom than you, because mom is her meal ticket. But I'm excited for as she grows and as she gets a little bit older, excited to really sort of develop our own relationship. Just looking forward to it. It's going to be a hell of a fun ride. And I know I say that, and I sometimes from people when I say it's going to be a lot of fun, we're excited for it. And even before she was born, I would say that when Becky was pregnant, we would say that to people. And they go, "Oh, it's a lot of work." And I'm like, fun and hard are not mutually exclusive, right? Like you have to remember, like for me anyway, those two things actually go hand in hand. Like for fun, I do Ironman races where I have to cover 140.6 miles all under my own power, right? Like in a day, in less than half a day, right? Like that's my idea of fun. Becky's a marathon runner. Her running 26.2 miles is her idea of fun, right? Training to do that is our idea of fun. So, for both of us, we're looking forward to it. Hard and fun are not mutually exclusive. In fact, a lot of times they go hand in hand. So I know it's going to be a challenge. I know it's going to be hard. But it's also going to be a ton of fun. So yeah, I appreciate those thoughts, Jason. Thanks for saying that, and thanks for the congratulations. Becky did all the hard work. I was just there for moral support, but anyway, thanks for that. I appreciate it. John, how about you? What do you think about starting something new? When's the right time to start something new? Business, personal, launching a new station with your radio show, launching a new version of your radio show, or launching a new radio show in general. Like when's the right time? How do you decide when's a good time to start something new?
Well, Tom, I'm going to focus on the personal first, because I think everything grows from that. So, by the way, congratulations to you, the missus, and everyone on the birth of your child. And the only thing I would say is I agree with you 100%. They come when they come. We can't plan a perfect time. Wait for the perfect time, it's going to pass us by. And to really enjoy the little things. You can't do a lot in the early days, granted. But and as much as I say this sounds corny, enjoy making an experience from changing the diapers, because that baby will be 30 before you know it. And it's the little things they'll remember. They'll remember the trip to McDonald's or wherever, where you won't remember it. That's going to stick with them. And set your own course of what you want. What I would say is this. The time is now. It's an overused saying. When we become aware that we need to do something, we need to make changes in our life, for example, that's the time to do it. That's the time to start. If we wait until everything is situated just right, chances are we'll never get to it. And I'll give you an example. My wife and I, we've been married for 25 years, been together almost 27, 28, something like that. And we're planning a trip to Daytona Beach, Oceanside. And she said, if we don't do this now, something else is going to come along and get in the way. And that applies to spending time going on dates with my spouse. Life gets in the way. If I don't make the time to do the little things, they're never going to happen. And if I don't like the life I'm getting, it's time for me to change it. So I would say now, when it comes to business, it's a little more things to be concerned with. If a radio station says they want to add my show, if I don't have a competing station that's already there, bravo, let's make it happen. But if I had waited till I had gotten everything just right to get started with this radio journey, podcast journey, it never would have happened, because there is no right. It's just right now. Thank you.
John, how do you know how do you know you're not spreading yourself too thin? So when John Jay gets on 1,000 stations, is he going to be like, shit, I liked when I was on 100 or 10? How do you know? Or, more people are going to want your coaching. More people are going to want John appearing places. More people are going to want your help. How do you know that it's not you, that you're still on the right path?
Well, what I use is the measure of time. So for me, it's no more work to be on 116 stations than it is to be on 300 stations. However, if a station requires a lot more work, a lot more time, then I have to look, is it worth the investment of my time? Because that's something I can't get back. And I'm becoming increasingly more aware of this the older I get. I don't know if I got 15 years left, 1 year tomorrow, or 20 years. I don't know. So do I want to give up time with my wife? Doing something stupid as watching a TV show. That's what I have to use to measure. If I'm going to give time for my daughters, is it worth it? And if the answer is no, then they got to go.
Thanks, John. I'm living that world, and as you see friends and family and things like that pass, each time it's a gut check where you think to yourself, am I following my passion? Am I making the most out of each
Right.
moment? So that's a good reminder.
It clicks by. Time just does not stop, and it flies. I saw an interesting post, and I'll turn it over here. And it was from the Augusta, Kentucky Historic District. He said, it seemed like 20 minutes ago was July 4th, now it's July 16th. And we think about it, before we know it's going to be August 1st, then September, then we talk about Christmas. And we're like, where did the time go? It flies by.
Right on, John. Thank you. I'm always reminded of this thought that time is relative. Sometimes people say that happened yesterday, or that feels like, well, in your mind, it's only one memory away. So it really did just happen yesterday. Okay, Stephanie Kunkel. She said she's got to leave. So, but Stephanie's my dear friend. She's an author and she's fantastic. I've been watching her video content lately, and she's on fire. But Stephanie, how do you know when you should start something new? How do you know you should start making videos? How do you know you should write another book, start a new service at your company? How do you know that?
So I may not be the best person. And as usual, I'm going to bring some alternative perspectives to the room because I'm confident that there is not a one size fits all here. And I think it's really important for people to understand that sometimes we need the additional motivation of a new project, or we need the additional excitement of a new project to keep us going in different ways. It also sometimes will help people who are the type of people who need multiple projects. This is coming from somebody who has 9 projects going on right now, including an audiobook, a new written book, 2 projects for my business, getting email content and website design done, working with 2 clients on major projects. Like, this is my life. I constantly start different things that are new. And while I agree with a lot of what was being said, I want to shift the perspective a little bit that not every single thing that we do has to be completed. Some of it is creative work. Some of it is just creation for the idea of creation. And while I don't advocate for going out and spending thousands of dollars to start a new business with a new idea that you're not going to finish, because that's not really a great ROI, I do believe firmly and conclusively that as we grow as individuals, there are things that we want to try, things that we want to experience. And as John was saying, there is a limited amount of time that we have. And that said, there's also an infinite amount of time that we have. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen from today to tomorrow? But if we don't take the opportunities to create when we have them, when we don't take the responsive aspects of, when somebody provides something or when we get inspired with something and we don't create from that, then it just lives and it sits. And sometimes it is completely, like, it just completely falls by the wayside. So I think about starting something new for myself as how far in the creative process do I need to get with this right now, so that I can feel like I've accomplished something. And this was a complete mind shift for me, by the way, comparative to what I was a year ago. If you'd asked me this question a year ago, I'd have been like, nope, you can't start anything new till you finish the first project, and you've got to have a solid plan, and you have to do all of this. But I think that mindset for me personally is a little bit outdated, because I found that, one, I am more likely to complete things when I have a lot on my plate, and I don't get bogged down, and I don't feel like I have to complete things at a certain time. And like John said, I'm 100% believer that you got to look at the time span that you have. If I could have Hermione's watch from Harry Potter, my life would be perfect. Like, seriously, it would just be absolutely amazing. But since we don't have that, how much time do you have in a given day? Are you going to feel like you're not doing enough if you're not working on one of your 10 projects in a certain amount of time every day? What does that look like? And it's an individual thing. It's got to work for every person the way that it needs to work for every person. If you're the type of person that needs things completed before you move on to the next one, then absolutely do that. But if you're the type of person that likes to start things just for the sake of starting things, do that too. And I think that completes my thought. Thanks, Dominic and Tom.
Thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate that. I like what you had to say there, and it actually, it made me think of, when you were talking, when you first started talking about pressure, it made me think of, like, for me, sometimes I think I actually need to kind of, I perform better, or I do better when I put a little bit of pressure on myself, right? And, like, trying new things sometimes creates the needed pressure that I look for to actually excel and succeed in what I'm doing. And it just made me think of that, that old phrase, necessity is the mother of invention. Right. And I have people ask me often because, for example, I was having a conversation, I own a production company, and I was having a conversation with somebody literally yesterday, a prospective new client who wants to do a pretty kind of large scale project, potentially starting up in the fall. And we were talking about scale and scope, and he was asking questions about, could we handle it? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he said, well, do you have all these people on staff? And I said, no, but that's fine. Like, I have the resources to bring a good team together to execute for this project. And that pressure of knowing that I need to execute on bringing that team together means that I will, right? Sometimes not having everything lined up in advance when you take on a new project or a new whatever the new thing may be, something new, that's actually a good thing. It pushes you in the direction towards making decisions rather than weighing hypotheticals, which I think a lot of us kind of get caught in. We end up weighing hypotheticals rather than actually just taking action and making decisions. So appreciate you sharing that. And I think next up on our list here, well, first I want to say thanks to everybody once again for the congratulations. I appreciate it. Like I said, Becky, my wife Becky, did all the hard work. I've just been here for moral support, but I appreciate all the congratulations. I will pass them along to her. I'm sure she will appreciate them as well. And I think next on our rotation, or next on the list, or next in the next square coming up here, according to Dominick's layout on his phone, is our good friend Dr. Tachi, who's a fixture here and Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. So Dr. Tachi, we're talking about, how do you know when the right time is to start something new? And you just not that long ago launched something new yourself. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about kind of the decision making that went into launching your media platform?
Absolutely. But first of all, is Camila not in front of me?
Camila said she couldn't come up, but Dr. Tachi, you are hold on, because you are such a kind person, we will make sure, Camila, we typically go left to right here, but we got a message from Camila that she couldn't come up, but she is on stage, so we will ask. Camila, we're talking about starting something new. When do you start something new? So if you'd like to answer, we'll give you a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before we go to Dr. Tachi. Go on, Camila. And I'll give it a 5. I see this commercial on TV. The guy goes DUGAN and makes a fist. So no, she didn't say anything. Back to you, Dr. Tachi.
Okay, thank you. And first of all, I have to give my congratulations to Becky and Tom. Yay! That is absolutely amazing. Congrats to you and your family. And so when do you decide to start something new? I think when you reach the pinnacle of whatever it was you were doing before, that doesn't mean that you're not doing two things at the same time, or more than two things at the same time, but it feels like it comes to a point where it's time to transition to the next thing. And that's kind of what happened for me. So not that I was transitioning to something else, but it felt like the next logical step to start Indie Soup Media, which, for people who don't know, is my new network that is for independent content creators. And you can see us on OTT, like on Roku, but also on YouTube and Facebook Live, etc. And so I've been doing my show, Mediascope, for 9 years. This is the 9th year. And I have I think, a pretty good handle on it. And so there are other people that kind of started doing their shows at the same time I did or whatever. So it just kind of feels like, well, the next logical step is for people who are already doing this to get together because, again, the strength in numbers thing. And it just doesn't make sense to keep having all of these independent entertainment silos, and we can do this together and hopefully monetize together. So that was my thought process in starting Indie Soup.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's I definitely think that intention. I think going back to what Jason was talking about earlier, right? Intention is incredibly important when it comes to starting something new. So, like you said, Dr. Tachi, having that intention, that impetus behind the desire to start Indie Soup Media, to create a platform for independent creators where you could kind of work together to create something that benefits everyone, the audience, right, and the creators as well, I think is super important. And a good thing to highlight that, like, once you sort of have that goal, that mission, then it's probably time to start walking down that road, right? Like, and sometimes all it takes is all getting started simply can look like saying it out loud, right? That can actually be the first step into sort of realizing a vision, like Dr. Tachi's with Indie Soup Media, or, like the mission that I talk about that I'm on all the time, to humanize the world of business through better communications, right? The reason why I created Legendeering, why I wrote a book about it, and why I harp on that constantly and beat that drum incessantly, is because I believe that the more I put it out in the world, the more I say it out loud, the more likely I am to make progress towards that goal. So I think that was I appreciate you tying that back and talking about kind of intention and purpose behind or being a good impetus for decision making. What do you think, Dom?
One thing I want on this same route here, one thing I wanted to bring up, can we talk about duplication of process? Meaning, if Dr. Tachi is good at making content, then she sees the errors of other people's way. So, or she's good at making independent content, works with other independent content producers. Now she duplicates process to make something bigger. So let's say I wrote books first, and then I'm like, maybe I could help other people write books. Or if I could help other people write books, maybe I could help other people write books and grow the process each time. So are there things that you're doing that are, if you're going to start something new, let's say, so John Jay went from John Jay, he was radio, then he went to podcast. Well, he's already on air with voice. So going into podcast, while it's new, it is not a far stretch. So I almost consider there's low-hanging fruit. Are there things that I can do or that I'm not doing that are very close to what I do, where I can use the tools, the skills, my experience to duplicate the process? So, John Jay, if you're around, it was radio and then podcast, right?
It was. I worked for commercial radio stations as an FM music jock, so it's a totally different arena. But the syndicated show started as a podcast only in 2017 and got recruited by radio. And that's how it grew.
Got it. Excellent. Okay. So Dr. Tachi, just back to you on that. What do you think about duplication of process?
I love your term, duplication of process. Absolutely. And so to speak to it, I hope I'm speaking to it on the right level. It's just like what John said. It for me, it was it's a logical step, but then you discover that there are different processes. So it's a duplication in a way, but it's also very different, because for me and for this, So I was just responsible for myself before. Now I'm responsible for 10 million other people in a sense, right? It's still kind of very self-curated, but I'm responsible for more people. So the processes are different than it was for me as a singular creator. I don't know if I answered your question. Does that make sense? Perhaps I didn't. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Dom. Yeah, we can hear you. Dom just stepped away for just a second.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and I'm not. I think I don't want to speak for him. I'm not.
No, I was listening.
I think you
Okay.
answered his question.
Yeah, that it's different, but it's the same. So you use it's a different world, but there's a lot of the same processes that you're able to use. So figure out how many of those things are the same. That's what I'm suggesting. So okay, like if it's a sales process, well, it's a different product, or Dr. Tachi still has to meet new people. She has to have a product, and so she has to get them on the air. They have to produce a content. She has to share the files, have a place to share the files. Okay, so all these things are helping her duplicate that process. So yeah, I think you're spot on, Dr. Tachi.
Okay, great.
There we go. And if we have a new term, we'll use it. Okay, Debbie Griffiths, if you're starting something new, Tom had a baby, you moved across the country, you retired, you entered a world of being an author, a speaker. So you definitely know about starting something new. How do you know if you should do it? How do you know if you should pull back? How do you know if it's overwhelming? What are your thoughts?
Well, good morning, everyone, and congrats, Tom. This is a very exciting time for you. I just had my first grandson. So I'm 3 weeks into being a new grandma. So all of the advice that you were given, that's exactly what I'm telling my daughter and son-in-law. So just enjoy every moment. They grow too fast. So yes, I have done all of what Dom has said, but maybe not move totally across the country. I just moved from California to Nevada. But for me, I get these gut feelings. I get the intuitions, and then you kind of water. The seeds get watered, and then that's when I start doing research to see what all is entailed. I think you kind of have to be. First of all, I want to say all of the things that I've done, and I'm 64 now, and I've recently retired a little bit earlier than planned. It's um it's never too late to start something. You are never too old. As long as you're breathing, as long as you're walking, as long as you can talk, take that risk. Life is way too short. So for me, it's somebody plants a seed in through conversation, whatever. I start researching it, and then just start. If it's truly what I think I want to do or a path I need to take, then I go down that path. Then I kind of evaluate things, and you can, there's, depending on what it is, like social media, you can check your metrics to see, okay, is that working, or do I need to pivot a bit, or a lot, or abandon? So you have to be open to all of these things. Keep a positive mindset when you're making these kind of changes. You're going to run into obstacles. Trust me, I know all too well. But don't let those obstacles get in your way. Just find a way to work around the obstacles or go right through it. So I land my plane.
Debbie, good stuff. We appreciate you. So, and you're doing a good job. We've all been impressed by the pace of your journey, and that's because I think you. You're out there being authentic. You're open, and you have a good heart and a clear mission. So keep up the good work. I took a couple notes today before I came in here, just thinking about starting something new, and wanted to read them and think about how many of these things came up today, or things that we should think about. So I had about 8 notes, but I'm going to go with 1 through 6. I thought Does it fill a need? Do you meet the demand? Do you have a passion for it? This is where I, a lot of times, instantly am out. People come to me with a good idea, and I think about it. I'm like, yeah, we could do that. We could go film people and make them mad. This would be great. And this would be easy content. And I'm like, wait, I don't have a passion for that. So I am out on that idea. Then I think, okay, is there an opportunity? That was the next one. Is there an opportunity in the market wherever you're starting something new? If you're the 1,000th person to do it or talk about what you're doing, or is there really an opportunity? Do you have a skill? So we talked about duplication. Do you have transferable skills that work in this new field or endeavor? Do I actually have the skill to do it? Like me, I'm going to go be a professional fisherman. I can't even hook a minnow or whatever you put on a fishing rod, and I feel sad when I stick a hook through a minnow's eye. Like, they give me a bucket of these minnows, and I'm like, poor little guy. That's not a good. I do not have that skill. And then the final one John mentioned earlier is time involved. Do you have the time? Do you want to put the time in to what it's going to take to get you to where you want to go? So those are the notes I had, but I think each of you have really expanded on those and gave us more to think about. So we'll do show and tell in a minute, but first let's talk to Julie Loken, Tom. Julie Loken, you start new things, you start new endeavors. So how do you know when this is an opportunity, when this is something you should pass, when it's something you should maybe cancel? How do you know?
First, can I say congratulations to Tom? I'm very excited for Becky and you. What an adventure you're on right now. What an adventure. So congratulations. Okay, so how do you know when to start something new? I think when you're ready, you have surrounded yourself with people who are like-minded, perhaps one step ahead of you, who understand what you want to do, and also realize that fear is a liar. I think we stop ourselves from doing things new because we're fearful of the wouldas, what could happen. So when you surround yourself with people who do understand what they're doing and can help you, because it's hard to do things alone, number one, I think. And that's my share. And I just want to say, Dr. Tachi, I love the name Indie Soup. That is brilliant. And by the way, if you haven't seen Dr. Tachi live, she's gorgeous. Just want to say thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I think just to go with what you were saying there, Julie, first of all, thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate it. But I think to continue on from what you were saying there, like fear is not a very good motivator, but it's a really good demotivator, right? Fear is really good at triggering inaction, but it's not very good at creating action, right? Optimism, hope, things like that are actually much better at creating action than fear is. Fear is really good at getting you to not do something or to move away from doing something. But rarely is it good at getting you to move towards doing something. So I think it's really important that if you have it in your head, or you have an idea for something you want to try or something you want to start, something new you want to bring in to your life, whatever that means for you, that I think one of the ways to get over that initial hurdle is to address your fears around it, right? Because we all have fears of the unknown, right? It's human nature to fear the unknown, and to have fear around variables that we cannot account for or cannot control. So I think the best thing, like what I would say to people if they're stuck in inaction because of fear, the best thing you can do is talk about your fears, face them head on, and work through them. Because once you do that, you'll find that a lot of the impediments to actually getting started on a new project just sort of melt away and fall away. What do you think, Tom?
Oh, can I ask you, Dom and Tom, a question? Just, I would
Sure.
love to know where fear has held you back in the past and how you would do things differently.
Okay, so a rebuttal on fear just first. I mean, if a crazy dog is chasing me, fear may. Sometimes I ride my bike, and all of a sudden one day I'm looking behind me, and a dirty dog was chasing me down the road. I do pedal faster when that dirty dog is chasing me. So I do think there are times. I say that because sometimes you see people get a health scare and then they clean up their act and get on a diet or start exercising or whatever. So I probably has its place here and there.
Yeah, but I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back.
Go on.
Because
it's not the best, but it does work, right?
Well, but I don't like. All right, so you went from so the action you're talking about with pedaling faster. I mean, that's your fight or flight response, right? So that's I don't want to get bitten by a dog, so I'm going to pedal faster so I don't get bitten by a dog, right? That's your fight or flight response. But then
fear of it eating me.
Well, yeah, but that's fear of immediate physical harm. That's an immediate danger, right? That's not an existential fear, right? That's not something that you can't put your finger on. That's a very clear and present danger, right? But then you talked about somebody having a health scare, right? And then that motivating them to do things that they wouldn't have done before. I would argue that it's not actually the fear of death that gets them to do something, right? It is the hope to have that experience, knowing that they have limited time to do it in, right? So it just reinforces that. I mean, we all have limited time, right? Every single one of us here, everybody, whoever listens to this, we all have limited time. So I think it's the hope for the positive that comes out of the experience that actually motivates people to do it. I would argue that it's not the fear of death, that they're not going through doing taking on a new challenge or trying a new experience because they're afraid of dying. They're hopeful for the positive outcomes that they'll have from the experience, right? So I just wanted to push back on that because I genuinely don't believe that fear is a good motivator. And I think I'd have to go pull up some of the science. I'm not current on it, but I believe that the science backs me up on that, right? That actually fear is not a good motivator. It's a good demotivator. It's a good way to create inaction, right? Or to move people away from something, but it's not a good motivator to move people towards a goal. Fear doesn't do a good job of moving people towards a goal.
Julie, why did you ask this question? It gets us stirred up. Okay. And,
I mean, that the humanized experience, because I think we've all been held back by fear in some way. Fear can be a motivator,
Sure, and to Tom's point,
diabetes, you want to lose weight, right?
Right. Is it the best? No, I don't think anybody's ever arguing it's the best. So I would say it's motivated. It's held me back 1,000 times in my life. And then you also build and try to overcome and get stronger so that it doesn't hold you back, that you can take the plunge. And the more you take the risk and take the plunge and step out of your comfort zone and see that you can do those things, whatever it is you're shooting for. But absolutely, I often talk, I lost $500,000 in business and was on government repayment plans, had houses repossessed, cars repossessed, my wage garnished for 7 years. When I wanted to start a new business, it probably took me a lot longer to make that leap because I worried about benchmarks and metrics. I worried about losing all those things again. So definitely. So Tom, quick, and then to Jason.
Yeah, I mean, look, fear has absolutely held me back in the past and in my life, without question. It has stopped me. It's probably the reason why I stayed in the television industry for as long as I did, was because of fear of the unknown, fear of leaving kind of the only professional track that I'd ever known, the only professional world I'd ever known, right? So yeah, 100% fear has held me back. It's created delays. in my life. It has stopped me from doing things that otherwise I probably would have done more quickly, that were good ideas that I didn't capitalize on. And God knows how many things there that I completely missed on because I was a little too fearful and I took too long to act and the opportunity passed me by. So yeah, I mean, there's a million times in my life that I'm sure fear has sort of cost me or altered the course of my life. I cannot think of one great thing that has ever happened to me because I was afraid. I'll leave it there. Nothing, I can't think of one thing that has happened to me in my life, one great thing that has happened to me, one overall positive thing that's ever happened to me because I did something out of fear. So yeah, it has held me back, but I also would not credit fear with any accomplishment in my life. So there's that. All right, Jason, on to you, and then we're going to jump into show and tell.
Just real quick, it's like I think it's Seneca who basically said you suffer more in the mind than you do in reality. And whenever there are times where fear is more what you anticipated. The extenuating circumstances that you're over anticipating that stops you. That's kind of like really where I agree with you guys. I can also allow fear to work for me, because there are times where even the stupidest thing, like getting in front of a camera, people are afraid. And it's like, wait a second, it's not all that bad. Say like you're starting a new stream service or you're starting your visual experience when you're making content and you're afraid about how you look, but it's really not that bad. You don't have millions of people tuning into you, and you just can't suffer the anticipated results. You just have to think about like, okay, I am scared of this sometimes. Like I was scared of something that I had to deal with this weekend as an example. But when I got through it, I was like, okay, I'm glad I had the fear to remind me that am I committed or not? And sometimes fear, that's where a positive can remind you that fear is there for a reason, and it can distract you, or you can be attracted to be like, no, I'm not going to be scared no more. I'm going to go after this. I'm committed. I'm here. I'm not moving. So I think it's the application of, does it happen to you or for you? And it's happening to you. You've got some things to clear out. So I'll just stop with that.
Good stuff, Jason. Appreciate you, man. Tom, what do you think? Are we ready?
I think we're ready for show and tell, man. What do you got for me?
Okay, so today there's a term in Pittsburgh called a yinzer. And like, I don't think I'm a yinzer, but I know I love and am very proud of my city and where I'm from. So today I'm going to show you something that might push the boundaries. As soon as I decided to show this and bring it over, I start to think, am I? So one of the things I love is the Steelers. They used to play in Three River Stadiums, and it was demolished about 20 years ago. When they demolished it, I got a seat from the stadium, and then I had a lot of good times at the stadium. I remember one time when they won the AFC Championship game, to this day, I think I got carried through the rotunda and out of the stadium and ended up about a mile away. Now, that's how I remember it. But here is what I'm going to show you. This piece of green stuff. This is turf from Three River Stadium that is hanging on my wall in my office. So you see, it's not very fancy. I just hang it with a nail. But this piece of green turf where the athletes played, I could hug it and it makes me happy. And this is what AstroTurf looked like in the day. So that's what I have to show you. My green AstroTurf from Three River Stadiums. What do you think, Tom?
I like it. I like it. Are you I know you're not a huge fan of the term yinzer, but how do they refer to people from Pittsburgh or the Pittsburgh area? Are you Pittsburghers? Are you Pittsburghians? Are you what's the term?
I would call it Pittsburghers. Jim Ajay down there. Jim Ajay, we Pittsburghers? Is that what you would call it? I think so. But now Jim, my friend Jim, I'm going all out Yinzer with him. Now, I will say we went to see a wrestling match this weekend under a bridge in Pittsburgh, and one of the wrestlers was called Yinza, and he comes out in black and gold in a little mask. So, Tom, I can go on and on there, but I think we should see from Christy and Bobby quickly if they have thought about starting something new. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say when I visited you, and you took me on a little tour, we did go past, not only did you take me past the stadium, but you also showed me where you guys park for your tailgating before the home games, before the Steelers home games, and how long a walk it is to the stadium from where you park. And I did get to hear from your wife about your very emotional reaction to getting your season tickets, like because you'd been on the list for a long time and how excited you were about getting those season tickets. So I know it's something you hold near and dear. So I think that's cool. I mean, look, I don't know if I would hug a piece of AstroTurf. Definitely not from Three Rivers Stadium, because I don't, I'm not a Steelers fan per se. But hey, if it makes you happy, buddy, I'm happy for you. So with that said, well, I think you're absolutely right. Let's hear quickly from Christy and Bobby before we got to get out of here today. So Christy, Bobby, we're talking real quick about when when to start something new, when it's the right time to start something new. So just rapid fire. Christy, give us a sentence, and then we'll go to Bobby. Give us a quick sentence on when you think what the signs are to start something new. So we'll go to you first, Christy.
I think everybody has these instincts and these feelings that you have, and your heart is filled with what you need to do. Tie into those instincts and just go push. If you think it's right, do it. You only have this one life to live each day as the fullest. So whatever you're trying to do, get it done. You can do it. I know you can. That's all I'll share. Thank you.
Awesome. That was great. Short, sweet, to the point. I love it. Bobby, how about you? When you know is the right time to start something new?
This might sound a little woo-woo, but basically listen to the clues that the universe is giving you. If you're finding that you're dealing with a lot of coincidences or a lot of whispers, a lot of angel numbers, or just you feel like something larger than yourself is speaking to you. Somebody says something to you, over the water cooler that kind of rings true, and then check your gut. And if those two align, then it's time to move forward.
Hey, Bobby, good stuff. Christy, good stuff. And I will let you know that I pushed follow on each of your accounts after hearing you speak. So thank you very much. All right. Not the smartest guys in the room. We appreciate you guys. Tom, we talked about your baby. We talked about starting something new. He made comments behind the scenes about my tan, and he did not like my AstroTurf. And now you got to wrap it all up. Tom, can you do it for us?
For the record, I mean, this is for anybody who knows Dom and I. This is the debate over tanning is ongoing and lengthy, and I don't think it's ending anytime soon. But I don't know. Dominick is trying to show off his tan. He doesn't look very tan in the camera today, and that's where he was unhappy with my commentary around that. And he thought I look tan. It's just because I'm outside training all the time, riding and running and swimming, and you end up getting a little bit of tan in the meantime. But for the record, I always wear sunblock. So I think that's important. I'm not trying to get myself some skin cancer over here. I'm trying to do it the right way. But yeah, we've kind of been all over the map a little bit today, but mostly talking about when do you know it's time to start something new? How do you know it's time to start something new? When do you know it's the right time to take that leap? And I think I'm going to go back to something I said at the very beginning when we were talking about having our baby, welcoming Isla into the world, my wife and I. how we kind of look at something that's going to be a challenge, something that's going to be hard, as also being fun. That we find and derive a lot of joy and pleasure and satisfaction and fulfillment from challenging ourselves to do hard things and then succeeding at them. And succeeding doesn't mean you have to be the best at something. It just means you have to accomplish your goal, right? Or get close to it. So, I think at the end of the day, fear often holds people back. It has definitely held me back at certain points in my life. I know it's held Dom back, as he said, and I'm sure everybody else here, it's held you back at some point. But if you can push through that fear and take the leap, take that first step, then on the other side of that, not only is there the opportunity for success, but there's also the opportunity for a lot of joy and fun and satisfaction along the way as you struggle through this new challenge, as you face small challenges and overcome them on the way towards accomplishing a goal. That's kind of the way I approach a lot of things in my life, from my Ironman training to how I run my business, to even now raising a child. It's going to be hard, but it's also going to be a ton of fun. And I would encourage everybody listening to push past that fear and embrace the difficulty, embrace that pressure, that challenge, because out of that on the other side is a ton of gratification. So yeah, that's all I got for today. Appreciate everybody being here. Thanks once again for all of your congratulations. I very much appreciate them. I will pass them on to my wife, Becky. I would say I would pass them on to Isla too, but she wouldn't understand. If they're not made out of food right now, she's not very interested. If your congratulations aren't in the form of milk, she doesn't care. So anyway, thanks so much for all your congratulations. Once again, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. You guys are the reason why we do this. We may or may not be here next week. Dom's going on vacation. I may take the week to continue kind of focusing on the newborn, and maybe we'll do a summer schedule. We'll go every other week through July. So maybe that'll be our summer Not the Smartest Guys in the Room schedule. So maybe next week, maybe the week after, but you can be sure that some Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, we will be here at Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, both on Clubhouse and streaming live all over the internet. So thanks once again for being here, guys. We love you. We appreciate you. And until we see you again, have a great time. Get past your fear and enjoy the challenge. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.